Well, a very good afternoon from a very hot Surin beach. Today is Thursday the 2nd of May. We're going to be taking a look at the Surin beach area because I haven't visited this area for quite some time, and I'm sort of easing myself back into making YouTube videos because some of you will know I've been away over the last month because I've been moving house. Well, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, then don't forget to check out some of my other content. So jumping into the video, Surin Beach is positioned in the northern part of Phuket. It's an area that's ideal for families and couples. If you're looking for a more relaxed area, it offers a great beach area. It has a small town area, plenty of shops and restaurants, but if you run out, then Cherntalay, which is just up the road, offers a lot more in the way of shopping facilities, restaurants, markets and that type of thing. And we will be taking a look at Cherntalay in the coming weeks, including the night market, because I haven't covered that for some time. But for now, let's take a look at Surin Beach. Not one of the longest beaches here in Phuket, but a very nice beach, and over the years it has gone through a few changes. In front of me you can see the lifeguards. Surin Beach does have lifeguards on duty. Let's just take a moment to talk about the weather, because this is a very hot topic in my Facebook group, weather, and generally people want to know what the weather's like today, tomorrow, next month, next week, etc, etc. Well, as I mentioned at the start, we're right at the start of May, so we're now moving out of high season and we're slowly going into what I call low season. Many people refer it as the rainy season, monsoon season, whatever you want to call it. Let's just call it the low season. So this is going to run from May till roughly the end or beginning of November. And during the low season you will see a lot of these red flags. Now you're probably wondering why there are red flags out today when the sun is shining. We have had a few clouds over the last week or so, and we are getting a few showers. Nothing to worry about at the moment, but slowly the weather is changing. So why do we have red flags today when it is a beautiful day? Well, the problem that you have on the west side of Phuket, which is where most of the main resort areas are, like Surin, Kamala, Patong, Katakaron and so on and so forth, is undercurrents. Now a lot of people underestimate these undercurrents, and unfortunately during the low season many people drowned because they ignore these warning flags. They're not there to spoil your fun, as I've mentioned on previous videos. They're there to remind you of the dangers of entering in the water. Now clearly you can see over there are people in the water, and they are taking no notice of the red flags. Of course, the lifeguards would prefer you not to go in the water. That's what the red flags are there for. But they can't really stop you if you really want to go in. But you should understand the dangers that you're putting yourself in. And also, these guys over here, who, should you get into trouble because you get trapped in one of the undercurrents, have got to come in and put their life at risk because you didn't heed the warnings. You will see red flags during this time of year and going forward now throughout the year up until probably late November when the weather starts to improve. This is because we get monsoons, storms. This affects the ocean and the undercurrents, and Phuket is very prone to those undercurrents. If you're coming over here with your family, then younger children, definitely be aware of this situation. I know it's very tempting, the water looks beautiful, the sun is shining, but you can see the waves, not massive, but they're of a reasonable size. And should you get into difficulty, then somebody's got to come in and save you. Surin Beach, is it a good beach to swim on? Yes and no. For adults, I would say there's not really much of a problem. The thing that I find with Surin Beach, which I've mentioned many times before when I have covered this area, is the shoreline drops away quite quickly. So once you enter the water, it can seem quite shallow, and then all of a sudden it goes really deep. So obviously younger children may have a problem with that because they're going to quickly get out of their depth. So again, that is something that you should be aware of. But for adults, Surin Beach is a really nice, pleasant beach. Plenty of facilities. Behind me, lots of restaurants. Now, there is some controversy over Surin Beach with the vendors on the beach, because this beach has been cleared many times of vendors. But as you can see, once again, sun loungers are making an appearance. There are restaurants and facilities. Now, I understand that tourists come over here, and some tourists need or want the facilities of sun loungers, parasols, restaurants and shops. But there are certain laws here in Thailand that protect the beaches, and they aren't really illegal. So just bear that in mind. Behind me, an outlet into the sea. Let's take a closer look at this. Now, this is something I'm going to be covering in coming videos. The issue with black water here in Phuket. Now, during COVID, all these outlets, let's call them outlets. I'm not going to call them sewerage outlets, because again, there's some debate about it, and I'm no expert when it comes to this type of thing. I'm not going to say it's a sewerage outlet, I'm just going to say it's an outlet. But as you can see from the video, it doesn't look very inviting. The water's not particularly clear. Now, the experts will tell you this is because of algae and various other reasons, which I will go into more detail on the video that I actually do about this black water. But unfortunately, you're going to find, actually I can it's not a very pleasant smell around here, I'll be honest with you. I'm just standing here and I can smell something. What it is, I don't know, but it's not very pleasant. During COVID, all these outlets became crystal clear, because obviously where they run to is probably shops and restaurants, and they weren't open. So that sort of answers your question about what's going into the outlets. Now, again, I'm no expert, and the experts will dispute maybe what I'm saying that they don't empty their waste into these outlets. It's grey water, not sewerage water, etc, etc. And as I say, I'm going to do a video dedicated to these, because a lot of people have asked me about this situation, and I haven't really covered it in any depth. But you're going to be very hard to find any of the beaches on the west coast without these outlets. To be honest, Patong's got them, Kamalar's got them, Karon, Kata's got them. They've all got these canals and outlets that flow into the sea somewhere, and most of them aren't looking as good as they were last year or the year before, as we were coming out of COVID. Okay, so we've got a little warning here. I'm just going to show you so you can see that I'm not lying when I say about the warnings here on the beach. And you can see yourself, it says strong current, dangerous, no swimming. But unfortunately, over there, people are swimming, and there are red flags all the way down here. Now, of course, it is your choice, but just be aware the choice that you're making could put yourself and other people in danger. I don't personally recommend swimming when there's red flags, but the choice is yours. You could either have a great holiday with no incidents, or a holiday that involves either a visit to the hospital or maybe even going home in a box. Those are the things that you have to consider when you want to go in the water. Now, I know people say, well, I want to go on holiday, I want to swim, but I can't go in high season because of children, commitments, whatever it may be. The only time I can go is during the low season. Well, unfortunately, that isn't ideal for the beaches. So if you're thinking of booking a holiday here and you have no choice but to go in low season, then I would strongly recommend you look at your hotel facilities and make sure that the hotel you book has good facilities, i.e. a good swimming pool that you can enjoy on the days that really you shouldn't be in the sea. Now you can see the swell there is quite large, there is no doubt about that, and it doesn't take much to become or find yourself in difficulty. It doesn't matter how good a swimmer you think you are, there are many cases of people losing their lives here every year. Unfortunately too many. And I do try to highlight this because of course it's just stupidity. You're putting your life on the line for stupid reasons really, just for a few minutes swim in the sea. Whereas the hotel pool is a lot more safer. But the choice is yours, as I say. So, Surin Beach. Great beach, you can see the sand, it's well looked after and maintained. There are lifeguards here. Hopefully you won't need their services, but you never know. Plenty of sunbeds should you require them, but just bear in mind from time to time they will be removed off the beach. The same as these restaurants. There were actual buildings before which are not allowed. These are what they class as temporary structures, and again it comes down to the local government to decide on whether they're in breach of being here or not, and should they decide they are, they will be removed, and then over a period of time, as you see, they come back again. Rightly or wrongly, it's not for me to decide, but there are a good choice of facilities, places to eat here on Surin Beach. Grab a drink, you're going to get yourself a smoothie, whatever it may be. Just bear in mind that actually a lot of people don't realise it is illegal to drink alcohol on the beach. Now I'm not saying people don't drink it, because of course they do, but the laws here in Thailand are, well, not everybody's fully up on the laws, and it can be very easy to break the law without actually realising you are breaking the law. And again, people will say, well, there's other people doing it, and I don't dispute that. But should you be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the police officer decides he's not happy with your actions, then of course you will have to deal with the consequences. So just bear that in mind. I'm not saying that people don't drink on the beach, because clearly you can see alcohol being sold there, but it is actually against the law. There are quite a lot of laws here that people are not sure about. One of the questions that comes up regular, and in fact I've now stopped in the group, is about electronic cigarettes. Vaping, vapes, whatever you want to call them, are illegal. Now it's not for me to say, well, that's ridiculous, you know. That's the law here in Thailand, and whether you want to respect the law or not, that is your decision. But the penalties can be quite harsh. Now many people have said in the group, oh, I've seen people selling them openly, smoking them openly everywhere you go, and again, it's not for me to dispute that. I'm sure that may be the case. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own actions, and should you do something that's against the law and you get caught, it is no point in moaning about it. It's like renting vehicles. So let's just talk about vehicle hire, because this is a subject very close to my heart, because as again some of you will know, my wife has a hire business. So in the group I get asked regular, should I hire a car? Should I hire a motorbike? Well, the answer is, of course, why not? If you have the correct documentation. So you want to hire a car in Thailand, you will need a full driving license, and to go along with that driving license you will require an international driving permit. People keep calling it an international driving license. There is no such thing. It's an international permit, and what this permit does, it allows you to use your original documents in another country. If you don't have motorbike on your license, then you can't drive a motorbike with an international permit. All it does is makes your license legal here in Thailand. But the main reason why you need it is because of accidents. If you don't have that document and you are involved in an accident, then the insurance companies have got the perfect loophole to get out paying the claim. And many accidents happen here in Thailand, just like everywhere else in the world. So I strongly recommend, you want to hire a vehicle, make sure you have the correct documents. For a car, you need a full driving license and an international driving permit. That's all you need. Most hire companies will not hold the original documents, like my wife. We just take photocopies of those documents and you will pay a security deposit. What the security deposit does is, should you have an accident during your period hire, it then pays the excess on the insurance policy, because to make a claim out here is no different to anywhere else in the world. There are normally excesses involved that you have to pay to initiate a claim. So of course a security deposit is normally involved. Should you deal with a company or contact a company that wishes to hold your passport, then I would strongly recommend you avoid those companies. Now, it is getting better, the situation over here. There's less companies holding those original documents, but I read all the time that there are people still giving over their passports, which is not great. Now, motorbike hire is slightly different over here, because a lot of people are under the misconception that their driving license, i.e. car license, allows them to ride a scooter here. Now, the word scooter does not exist here in Thailand, okay? People will call this a scooter. This is not a scooter. This is classed here in Thailand as a motorbike. Be very clear on that. So, to ride a scooter motorbike, you will need a full motorbike license. Let me repeat that. A full motorbike license, not a provisional, not a car license with the provision to ride up to a 50cc scooter. The lowest cc commonly available, I'm not going to say there's no 50cc's here in Thailand, because there probably are somewhere, but not here in Phuket, not for hire anyway. The lowest cc you're going to find is 100cc, so your car license isn't going to cover you. So to hire legally, what I'm talking about legally now, you need a full motorbike license. Along with that license, you need an international driving permit, and would also be a good idea to have personal insurance that covers you to ride a motorbike should the worst happen. All the motorbikes here in Thailand have basic insurance, but it is very basic insurance, and it gives you a very minimal cover for medical expenses of, I think it's about 30 or 40,000 baht. Without looking at the actual documents on the bikes, I can't be sure, but I think it's the maximum's about 40,000 baht. All the bikes have insurance. They come with emergency insurance for medical treatment only. That doesn't cover damage to the bike or other people, properties, etc. It's very, very basic insurance. So should you be involved in an accident, the chances are you are going to have to pay if it's your fault. Okay, let's be clear on that. If you have an accident, it's your fault on a motorbike, you're going to have to pay. Now, if you've got all the correct documentation and you have an accident that's not your fault, you are fully legal to be there, you are entitled to ride that bike, then the other person should pay. Now, in reality, that doesn't always happen, I'll be honest with you, because if you have an accident with a Thai person, the chances are they'll turn around and say they can't afford to pay, etc, etc. If you have a accident with another foreigner, they'll probably turn around and try and blame you, vice versa, and nothing gets sorted. But of course, if you're on a hire vehicle, it is your responsibility to make sure that any damage on that vehicle is repaired or paid for, whether it's you paying for it or whether it's the other person. I'll give you an example. A guy rented a motorbike last week. He had an accident on it. It wasn't his fault. He was involved in an accident with a Myanmar national. Fortunately, the Myanmar national paid for the damage. The guy that hired the bike brought the guy who'd been involved in the accident with him to our hire shop, and that explained the situation to the person that they needed to pay. They agreed that it was their fault and they paid. It's not always a common thing. There's always problems with motorbike accidents and people that don't want to accept the blame for it. So I would always advise you to have some personal insurance on top of the standard insurance. Another point I want to make, when you're hiring a car, it is very, very important that you make sure that the car has commercial hire insurance, not first class, okay? A lot of people are hiring cars and vehicles at the moment with what they call first class insurance. And if you've not been to Thailand and you don't understand the rules and laws, first class insurance is a private policy, which is the same as anywhere else in the world. It does not cover hire use. So if the person has a first class insurance, then that car, vehicle, whatever it may be, should not be used for hire purposes. It is not, basically has no insurance. If you hire it from somebody, you're driving around with no insurance. You need commercial insurance. Something I've wanted to talk about quite a lot, because my wife's company, we have all the correct documentations to cover all the vehicles, including commercial road tax, which a lot of people don't realise. Again, hire vehicles come under a different classification for the road tax, including motorbikes. Yes, probably didn't know that, did you? But when you go down the tax office to tax the motorbikes, they now are asking you whether that vehicle is being used for hire purposes, and if it is, you have to declare it and you pay more road tax. The same with the car. In fact, for the car, it's 3 times the amount. This is why a lot of people don't have the correct documentation with their hire vehicles. And again, should an accident happen, all you're doing is giving the insurance companies a loophole. You can have the correct insurance, you can have the commercial insurance, but if they find out you're driving around in a car that doesn't have commercial tax, they won't pay out on the policy, because again, it's against the law and you're breaking the law by doing it. So a few things to watch out for when you're hiring vehicles, very important. So be warned, because there are many ways that you can get fined over here. Using underpasses and motorways here in Thailand is not allowed with motorbikes. I see every day many Thai people as well as foreigners going down the underpasses. If the police officers see you, they will stop you and fine you. That fine can be up to them. I've heard of cases 5,000 baht, 2,000 baht is sort of the average, 2,000 or 3,000 baht, but they can fine you. So be warned on that. Simple things. There are warning signs. Many people don't bother to read them, telling you you're not allowed. People try their luck. They can't be bothered to wait 5 minutes at the traffic lights. Well, again, you're going to get fined. So these are a few things to look out for when you're coming over here and staying in Thailand, or indeed Phuket. Okay, well, you can see weather beautiful. Beach, fantastic. Busy, not as busy as it has been, but that's understandable because we're now going into May, which is a great time to come and visit Thailand because it's less busy. But you do have to bear in mind sea conditions, island trips can be affected by the weather, so you may not be able to visit certain islands because of the weather. Some of the islands like Maya Bay and the Similan Islands close at certain times of the year. So they're not always open throughout low season. You need to check which months they're closed. But it is a great time. Now people ask me about the weather in the low season. Does it rain all the time? No, it doesn't. It does rain, and it's something you've got to expect. You're going to expect some showers, that's for sure. Don't come over here thinking it's going to be wall-to-wall sunshine in low season, because it won't. But also, on the same side of the coin, don't expect it to rain all the time, because people say, does it rain all day long every day? No, it doesn't. But the weather here, especially in Phuket, is very hard to predict. Very hard, because the weather conditions change very quickly here in Thailand, and especially here on the island of Phuket. People talk about the weather apps. It says on the app, raining, thunder, all the time. Ignore them. The weather apps, 9 times out of 10, will be wrong. That I guarantee you. There isn't very many accurate weather apps that I've found over the years. They're normally wrong. They forecast rain all the time. And it doesn't rain all the time. You can see today it's a beautiful day. We did have a shower a couple of days ago. I think it lasted 15-20 minutes. We had a heavy downpour about a week and a half ago that lasted a couple of hours, but that was in the middle of the night. These are the sort of things that you can expect. I'm not going to say it doesn't rain in the daytime, because it does, and sometimes it does rain all day, but it's not all the time. It's occasionally. The months to avoid, I would say, are late September and October. Those months tend to get a lot more rain. Now that doesn't mean if you're coming in September and October that it's going to rain all day. I'm not saying that every day, because it may not do that. But those months are prone to heavy showers, which can be prolonged at times. So it's a gamble. Nobody can tell you if it's going to be raining this September or not. Nobody knows when it's going to rain and how long for. The same as the sun. Sometimes in October you can get days like this, beautiful weather, but it's not guaranteed. So the best time of year to come to Thailand, or indeed Phuket, because different parts of Thailand do have different weather cycles. Phuket, the best time is February and March. Generally we have little to none rain in those months. This year, as you've probably seen me say, it has been extremely hot, and I won't be sorry to see the rains coming, simply because now we are entering in the low season. Humidity starts to rise, so it's not just the heat that is the problem over here, it's the humidity, and the humidity at the minute is running very high. I'm not exactly sure how high, but at least 90%, which is quite high. And if you was to see my arm, it is covered in sweat, and the problem that you have, the minute you move away from a fan or any air conditioning, you start to sweat. So not great, not the most comfortable experience. You need to stay near fans and air conditioning at this time of year because of the humidity. Now when the rains come, it normally helps to cool things down, refreshes the air, gives you a breather. We haven't had a lot of rain this year. Well, from, I can't remember when we had really bad rain. It was probably in November. And the downside of this, while people think, oh that's great, perfect holiday weather, it is, but there is a downside. No rain, the reservoirs start to run low, and I've seen on the local media the main reservoir here in Phuket is dangerously low, and they are starting to worry that they are going to start to run out of run out of water. Now you might think, oh, you're not really bothered, but you should be, because where do the hotels get water from? The reservoirs. So obviously if the reservoirs start to run dry, there could be a water shortage. Now I was reading that the local government here have assigned, I think it was 2 billion baht for private sourced water should the reservoirs run out. So this is privately owned land with pools or reservoir type areas that hold a lot of water. They have secured some way of sourcing more water. However, if this weather keeps on, then that could also be an issue. I have known the weather be very hot all the way up to June and not much rain. So obviously that happens this year. Bearing in mind the reservoirs were full at the start of this high season because we had a lot of rain last year, so they were almost full, all the reservoirs across the island. Now they are saying that all the reservoirs are nearly empty, so bear that in mind. Whilst it's great to have the sun, we need a little bit of rain as well, because otherwise it starts to affect hotels, restaurants, private accommodation. Lack of water, you will see more and more water trucks on the road delivering water, etc, etc. So there is a downside to it. Now, talking about humidity, I am seriously sweating now. This is early afternoon. I think it was, it's 3:15. So there you go, it's 3:15 on the 2nd of May in the afternoon, and the weather's been beautiful today. There have been a few darker clouds hanging around, but not too many, and you can see there are lots of facilities here at Surin Beach, so it's a great place to come, spend a day. You're not too far away from food and drink. Taxi services down here should you wish to use them. There is some debate about taxis and the prices. A lot of people now choosing the apps like Grab and Bolt InDriver and many more apps that you can use to get cheaper taxi services. But along with those cheaper services, there is some reliability issues. Sometimes these drivers cancel because they find a better fare. So again, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Some of the apps work really well. People say they've had no problems, and other times they do have problems. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this look at Surin Beach, and it's a way of easing myself back into making videos. Hopefully the content is going to get more varied and better, because I have been criticised in the past that I don't cover enough stuff that people want to see. Well, okay, I'm trying to listen to what people are saying and trying to do something about that in the coming months. So do stay tuned. Hopefully I'm going to bring something of interest to you. Thank you for watching today's video. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel and you're new here, then please do consider it. Of course, check out a few of my other videos. I've been doing YouTube videos now for quite a number of years. That's it for today, guys, and I will speak to you really soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.